G'day curd nerds. Today we're making Saint-Marcellin, or Saint-Marcellin, however you want to pronounce it. It's a bloomy rind cheese, and it's similar in preparation to, say, camembert. However, there's a slight little twist. You actually mature it in clay crocks, which you'll see during the video. Very interesting cheese to make. It was a little bit different than some of the cheeses that I've made before, but nonetheless simple enough for the home cheese maker. On with the video. So the ingredients for Saint-Marcellin is 3 litres of full cream milk, an 1/8 of a teaspoon or a dash of aromatic mesophilic culture, 1/16 of a teaspoon of Penicillium candidum, a 1/32 of a teaspoon of Geotrichum candidum, 1/16 of a teaspoon of calcium chloride, and a 1/16 of a teaspoon of liquid rennet. So we're going to heat the milk to 24 degrees Celsius or 75 Fahrenheit, which is quite low. And then we're going to add in the aromatic mesophilic culture. Just sprinkle that around. And then we're going to add in the 2 mould powders. So Penicillium candidum first, in no specific order. And then we're going to add in the Geotrichum candidum. So let those rehydrate for a while. About 5 minutes I normally let them sit. I just let them covered. So they'll rehydrate. Yes, 5 minutes, thanks Gavin. And then give them a stir just to incorporate them through the milk. So we're going to add in the calcium chloride now, and we would add in rennet as well. Notice I only poured 1 in there because the recipe book I had didn't allow for calcium chloride, but it definitely needs it. So set for 18 hours. Seems like a long time, but I just did that overnight. And then test for a clean break. Yeah, we have a decent break there. It did take a long time. I did test it at 12-hour mark. But now cut the curds into 2.5 centimetres or 1-inch cubes, so rather large. So we do that vertically and we try and do it horizontally. I'm using just a 45-degree angle there to try and get the cuts correct. So I did that, let that rest for about 5 minutes, then took over to the sink area. Now I'm going to use a skimmer and I'm going to ladle those into 4 small Saint-Marcellin moulds. Now these are smaller than the normal camembert mould. So this did take quite a while. It took about 2 hours to do. Maybe a bit longer if I remember rightly. So use all the curd up, don't add another basket in. So once you've got all the curds in there, let it drain for 6 hours and then flip them over. So as you can see, they're very simple. Just flip them over onto the bamboo mat. And they did fall down eventually after I give them a bit of a tap. So we're going to salt the surface of each cheese before we flip it over again with 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So by the 6-hour mark, they're firm enough to actually take them out of the mould and then flip them over properly. And you'll need to do that to allow the rind to form correctly. So this is the actual second salting here. So we're salting top and bottom with 1/4 teaspoon of non-iodized salt. So they're ready for the ripening box now, just to keep them out the way, and so the cats and dogs don't eat them. So they're going to drain a little bit further now. So over the next 2 days, just make sure that you keep the ripening box clean, the bottom free from whey, so just make sure you wipe that over with paper towel. You don't want them swimming in their own whey because that'll wreck the cheese. So I just normally put a cheesecloth over the top of the box, just like that. So for 48 hours. So after the 2 days, we put it into the cheese cave and ripen at 13 Celsius, 55 Fahrenheit at 80% relative humidity for 2 weeks. So there we go. We've got that after 5 days. It's just starting to bloom now after 5 days. So don't forget to turn these daily. So I did transfer them to the bamboo mat on top because I found that the plastic mat was actually not allowing any whey to drain freely, and that was stopping them from forming their rind. You can see there after 10 days the rind is starting to look really crinkly. That's the geotrichum kicking in. So just keep turning them. Make sure you turn them every single day. If you don't, they actually start to flatten on one side, because at the moment what is happening is the paste is starting to form inside the cheeses. So good mould development there. So once again, just make sure that the maturation box is dry, all of the whey is removed by using paper towel, then pop them back in again. There we go. Pop the lid on and then pop them back into the cheese cave. So this is after 14 days, and we're going to, you can either put them in cheese wrap now, or if you've got little crocks like I've got. These are ramekins, so anything ceramic is fine. So just push those in. This helps develop the very runny paste that Saint-Marcellin is famous for. So they all fit in without an air gap in the bottom. Now, I only had 3 of these blue ones, and I found some other crocks. These clay ones there that have been lined, they've been glazed on the inside, which is necessary for this sort of cheese. It's not a tight fit, but it'll do. Now you can use small mason jars. They work just as well. And then you can just sit the lid on top instead of having to put this plastic wrap like I had to here. So you just cover each of the ramekins or the cheeses just to keep the moisture in a little bit. Now I'm just using plastic wrap and just making a little protective barrier there to make no other moulds grow in there, because I'm putting it back in my cheese fridge. So the pottery evens out the moisture and allows the cheese to remain at optimum condition for longer. I found that the paste developed quite well instead of using cheese wrap. So here we are after another week of development. The top surface is very crinkly. So you can see that the geotrichum has really kicked in, which is fantastic. So I'm going to actually try one of these in a second. So we're going to cut into the cheese. This is just for taste test purposes. I'm going to let the other ones ripen a little bit longer. So using a spoon, I'm just going to check the consistency of the cheese. And we have some runny paste. Oh, there we go. Some runny paste on the outside, and it's not quite runny all the way through. So it probably needs a week or two to mature a bit further, but it tastes fantastic. That one went straight into my gob and was very delightful. I did share it with my lovely wife Kim, and she agreed that it needed a little bit more ripening. There's me trying some more. But you can see there, if I turn it around, there we are. You can see that the paste inside is not quite runny all the way through. It needs to be for this cheese to be fully ripened. So I'll ripen that for another 1 to 2 weeks, probably 2 weeks, and then I'll try it again. But it is a delicious little cheese right now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you can support each video by pledging your support over at Patreon. The patron of the week is Nathan Berge. Thank you very much, Nathan, for your support. Check out some of our other cheese making videos. Here is my version of a camembert I've called Little Bear. Thanks for watching, curd nerds, and we'll see you next time.